starting into it, right? So the first question is, manufacturing in general is a very traditional domain, right? And it's very resistant to change as well. So with the advent of sort of digital manufacturing, and also I understand that Custiv does similar work, can you just throw a little bit of light on basically this entire domain and the kind of transition it's going through in terms of incorporating technology into it?
Perfect. So manufacturing is traditionally a very complex industry that involves a lot of stakeholders, that involves a lot of process. And in India, manufacturing forms a big part of India's GDP, right? Not only it is a big part of India's GDP, it also employs thousands of people, and it is one of the major sector for exports. But this industry, traditionally for more than decades, multiple decades, has been run very traditionally, right? Let me take a very simple example. When we talk about manufacturing, there are different kinds of manufacturing. There are standard parts manufacturing, there are custom parts manufacturing. It undergoes through a different process, it undergoes through different stages before you even get a physical product made. Let's say the whole idea is to convert an idea, to convert a digital design into a physical product. And in this process, there are a lot of stages involved, a lot of stakeholders are involved. And now let me take an example of a custom parts manufacturing. Now this is something not available off the shelf, right? You have your designs or drawings against which you have to get something manufactured. Now for which first I'll have to find the suitable vendor or suitable manufacturer who has the right equipment, who has the right technology, who has the right workforce that can match my requirement in order to manufacture this. Now that itself is a very big problem, right? Because in India there are thousands and tens of thousands of small and medium Indian manufacturers whose data is not completely visible out there or completely visible online. Like let's say today if I want to order 50 rupees worth of food online, I have many platforms that helps me discover different places in terms of different types of food to order, right? And also provides them with a rating and helps me make a decision. Whereas similarly, if I want to order, let's say 100 rupees of gift online, there are similar platforms. But when, as a company, I want to get something manufactured, I have a design or drawing, I do not have sufficient information whether what manufacturer has the right equipment, do they have the right quality standards, do they have the right workforce. But that information asymmetry itself is a big problem to start with. Now from there, even let's say you do the hard work of finding different manufacturers, which takes sometimes a couple of weeks to get their data, audit that data, come up with meaningful decisions to decide whether they're good to manufacture or not. From there, standardizing pricing, because in the industry anywhere, even if you want to get something manufactured, the pricing itself vary from X to 10x, just because maybe they have a smaller setup, maybe they have different equipment, maybe they have different workforce. All of these factors combined, there's a huge variation in pricing itself. So standardizing pricing itself is a big problem. And from there, let's say you've gone through all of these stages of pre-sales part and figuring out the right manufacturer, figuring out the right process. And there comes another problem, along this is what we call as design for manufacturability. One of the biggest problems in the industry is that whatever you design is sometimes not manufacturable. You can design anything, but it may not be manufacturable. I remember when I was starting Custiv, my inspiration goes back to me building a couple of hardware products back in college. And I was a hardcore design engineer, right? And we were facing one of the biggest problems that we used to come up with very creative designs. And then we go to manufacturers, and then we were getting all these comments saying that comments regarding feasibility of the design in terms of manufacturability, or what we call as a design for manufacturability. So even when you take pre-production, right, wherein you have to figure out the right vendor, you have to figure out the right pricing, you have to figure out design for manufacture. A lot of stakeholders involved, a lot of process involved, which otherwise takes weeks to get it done, right? And even after all of that, let's say you found a vendor, right? You need to have regular transparency and visibility in terms of your production or your even first product being made. That involves raw material procurement, that involves different manufacturing process, quality control, quality process, logistics. And for all of this, today there is no single platform or a single medium that aggregates all of this and provides that service layer using tech and data, right? So when we talk about digital manufacturing as a domain, it is at least with respect to what we are doing, it is basically bringing in technology and data in this entire service layer to provide a better service or to cut down all the inefficiencies in terms of pricing, in terms of design for manufacturability, in terms of finding different manufacturing partners, and as well as providing the transparency and visibility throughout the execution. Of course, when you talk about design, digital manufacturing, the spectrum of the domain spans a lot of different areas. It could be digitization in supply chain as to what we are doing. It could be digitization of machineries, where you make the machineries talk, right? Or it could be digitization of shop floor, industry 4.2 and so on. There are different domains that covers the entire digital manufacturing space. And the area that what we are focused on today is basically digitization of the supply chain, right? Or digitization of custom parts manufacturing, wherein you work with different vendors to get a product manufactured. So that's my take on what the domain is or what digital manufacturing means.
Yeah, I think I'll just add one or two more aspects, especially with some of the economies which are growing very fast, for example, India, or let's say China is one example, but Southeast Asia, right? Or even for that matter, now, transformation again of US. US built their infrastructure in the 60s. Now they're looking to, because their whole infrastructure is crumbling, so they're looking to do this. Right? There is a kind of a demand supply gap per se. So demand in the sense that there is a tremendous appetite for infrastructure build. We all know about India, right? And the supply is highly fractured, like Maqsood talked about.
Right.
And at the same time, the other factors of production, right? The labor, the competence level of the labor, all of these things essentially mean that if you have to really run at a 10x speed, you need to really see that how do we bring all of these factors of production together.
Right.
I think our thesis on this one is the only way you can bring together is by just moving it from human processes to computational processes, right?
Right.
And essentially what we are trying to also do is we are automating a lot of decisioning processes where humans take a certain decision and give a certain processing time, and just thinking about how you take decisions. You will read something, you will decide, you will take certain decisions. Once you put all of these things on the computation layer, that enables this kind of a bridge. I think so. That's the kind of opportunity space we are after. I think it's kind of closely ties with this opportunity window which the world is going through of extreme industrial output, and our answer now is through digitized supply chain.
And when we also talk about the opportunities in this space, right? India is going through that golden age where a lot of focus on manufacturing is getting shifted towards India. One is the infrastructure growth that's happening in India, where today we are growing at a super fast pace.
Yeah.
Whether it is when it comes to steel production, whether it comes to infrastructure being built, right? That's one area. Other than that, there's a lot of technological advancement that's happening, where a lot of even direct materials that we move supply chain through China to India. A lot of these countries, a lot of these companies are looking at India as their manufacturing destination. So there's also a factor of opportunity. It's a big opportunity, and it is the golden era of Indian manufacturing ecosystem. And this requires, when any industry goes through this phase, right? When you're sitting in front of a revolution, right? You also have a chance to bring in a lot of advancements, and you'll also have a chance to bring a lot of automations to deliver a superior service to your customers, or to bring products much faster to the market, right? That's, as Ajay also highlighted, that's what digital manufacturing is all about. By bringing in automations in workflows, by bringing in technology in between, by bringing in data to make faster decisions, you're making faster product, time to market basically, right? That's what it's all about.
And I think that's a great intro for our audience, just because I think our circles have mostly been like digital product design and digital products. So I think that is a great intro into your industry. It's pretty new for us as well. It's great to learn about that. And could you give us like an overview of how you're using tech in this industry and maybe even like how you're using AI in this industry?
Yeah, sure. So I think let's look at it from first principles basis, right? So what happens in this industry? So there is a buyer and there are suppliers. Or let's call the suppliers as what you will see in economics 101 is factors of production.
Right.
What are the factors of production? It's labor, it's machinery or capex, it's financing also. In our case, it's raw materials. So, right, this is kind of, that way it becomes a multi-sided marketplace, if you think of it, right? Now, you can abstract all of these physical entities as information entities. What is ultimately a demand? Demand is a order. I need these many, equipment types, I need this many girders, I need these many pillars, I need this kind of a bolt, I need this kind of a nut, in these thousands of capacities, of this micron precision. Ultimately, it's abstracted as this is a digital avatar of this demand. And then multiply it by millions of orders. Right? And on the other hand, you have these supply parts, right? The factors of production. If you here is a machinery. So what does the shop floor look like? Right? So there are lathe machines, there are the machining components, and so on, right? There are power equipment and so on as well, welding equipment, painting equipment, all of these. Again, you abstract it, right? Labor situation. What is their competence? Where are they coming from? Where is traditionally labor coming from? What is the competence level that you need? So that's how you abstract, right? Likewise, in terms of capital, you look at it in terms of capital is the value and the risk associated with it, broadly speaking, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you kind of abstract all of these as digital entities. The first thing is, for this industry, it's about how you bring all of these things from analog to digital. Now, I come, for example, from a pure digital background. Last I was with Meta, Facebook and Instagram. So you're born digital.
Yeah.
Here you are born in metal.
Yeah, even before analog.
Exactly.
You're born in pen and paper, you're born in whiteboard.
Exactly. Right? And then, even if you think about all the kind of previous works which were done, like in operational technology, you will be hard pressed to find, forget about Wi-Fi connected equipment, you'll be hard pressed to find even RS-232 connected equipment in this world.
So, could you tell a little bit about what RS to get it?
Yeah, so it was like these previous 60s, 70s kind of interfaces by which you'll have these 12-pin, 24-pin connectors and all. And then after that, the Ethernet jack came in, and after that, you started going to, coax cable, then you got into, Wi-Fi. I'm a telecom engineer by training, so that's how this background is. But the point is, first thing first we are talking about is how do you digitize all of this? Now, our customers, if you go to the factory of our customers, they wear thermal resistant boots, right from the field operator, the guy is a site engineer, operator, all the way to see the vice president, right? It's not like you're sitting in a Facebook office where everybody is going in sneakers and so on, or chappal sometimes barefoot.
Yeah.
Your foot will melt away actually in this industry, right? If you dare ever to do that. So that is one part, right? So how do you bring data from all of these domains and digitize? That's the first big thing. And that is something we'll talk a little bit about what we are doing, but that is the first thing that we are doing about how do you bring all of this data digital. I mean, unlike many other industries, for example, there are like very public data sets available, right? Anytime when somebody starts doing machine learning, starts learning, how to distinguish between this flower and that flower, there are these endless data sets that every guy who learns machine learning or girl who learns machine learning will go through a Jupyter notebook, download the thing, and say classify, is it a pig or is it a hen, kind of a thing, right? Or a flower, right? Here we don't have anything.
Yeah. So you're saying there's not enough public data in this industry?
There is no public data, there is no private data of cadence. the right cadence and of the right fidelity, right? And even if it is there, it is probably not, there is lack of cooperation, or for that matter, let's put it this way, it's out of priority area for the traditional players, right? Now, we talked about our customers. Situation is even, and these are the guys, by the way, who play at a level of tens of thousands of crores worth of all.
Right.
Okay. Now let's talk about the other side of the equation, which is our suppliers. These guys are comparatively the traditional MSMBs, micro, small, medium businesses. They are playing at a level of 1 to 5 CR kind of a range. Last thing that they have in their mind is to digitize all of these things. Right? Likewise, we can talk about raw material vendors. All they are talking about is metric tons of quantities. They're not interested in, as long as they are making the trade. So the trade is not like a algorithmic trading. The trading is happening at the shop floor somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So it's buying and selling.
Exactly, right?
It's pure
कितने पैसे हुए, and you're fighting over the last paisa, right? So I think the first thing is about how you create a digital replica of all of these things, right? And the second part starts with, which we were talking about earlier, is defining the process of a human interaction, or what we call as a pipeline business, a pipe business in a digital form. That's the first thing, right? So first we created the endpoint. Think of all of these ecosystem players, 5-6 ecosystem players. First of all, you elevate them to a digital domain. Then you look at these connections between them. How till Sirsa to 2024, how humans have been operating.
Right.
Then we convert them into the digital processes, right? So that's the first part of, call it as digitization,
Right.
right? Digitization of manufacturing. We are not talking about anything like, fancy digital twins and all of that stuff. We're talking about some very brass tacks conversion of analog to digital, and then talking about digital process, just like a copy of the process.
Right.
That itself have real dividends for the industry and all the industry players, because computers don't sleep, they work much faster than us, and they're replicable. So the weakest link, or let's say a labor who is of the least competence level can be elevated to the highest competence level.
Right.
So that is the first thing, right? After that, we bring in the layer of, as we start collecting more data, then we can look at what are the decision processes that we can automate. The first step is classical code, which is like if then else. Ultimately, everything boils down to if then else.
Yeah.
How are you writing all of these workflows and being smarter? Can you encode a whole lot of human heuristics, which is coming with 30 years of experience, 35, 40 years of experience? And in our case, we actually bring in a lot of consultants who have cooled their heels and big part of their lives working in the industry, and we convert that into, reproducible code. Then the last part, the most interesting part that we are working on is that how do we create these data sets and understand the knowledge which is beyond the realm of human cognition. And that is where, highly autonomous decisioning systems are being put in place and so on. We're also looking at, ever since generative AI started to become more affordable and more predictable with all the, I'll call it as systematic errors, but not call them as hallucinations. But we are really using them for, design options. What are kind of design possibilities that our design engineers can choose from when they're looking. So there is a whole bunch of activities, right from moving from atom to bits to, arranging the decision flows, and ultimately to identifying higher order logic, which so far humans and the industry has not been adapted to. We can ultimately think in 3 dimensions, and people like me who are not mechanical engineers can next think in 2 dimensions.
Right.
But as a machine learning engineer, I can think in million dimensions at the same time. I think that is the kind of thing that we want to bring. We want to bring the latest cutting edge, AI and decisioning capabilities to the most digitally starved sector
Segment.
that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. All from India.